Julian Vance was 29 years old and had more money than he could spend in 10 lifetimes. As the CEO of VanceTech, he lived in a penthouse above the clouds and treated people like disposable batteries. If you were useful, you stayed. If you were not, you were trash. Every morning, Julian walked past Thomas, the 60-year-old security guard in the lobby. Thomas was kind. He knew everyone's name and always held the door open with a smile. But to Julian, Thomas was just part of the furniture. One rainy Tuesday, Julian rushed into the lobby on an important call. He didn't look where he was going and slipped on a small puddle of water. He didn't fall, but his expensive Italian leather shoes got wet. Julian exploded. He screamed at Thomas, accusing him of being lazy and stupid. Thomas tried to explain that he was helping an elderly lady with her umbrella, but Julian didn't care. "You are fired," Julian spat. "Get out of my building," Thomas begged him. He explained that his wife was sick and he desperately needed the health insurance. "That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem," Julian said coldly. Then he got into the elevator and forgot Thomas existed. 3 months later, Julian's life fell apart. His business partner, Marcus, embezzled millions and framed Julian for fraud. The FBI raided the company, the board fired Julian, and the bank froze his assets. In a single week, Julian went from a billionaire to a beggar. He ended up on the streets. His friends abandoned him. His girlfriend left him. He had nothing. 2 weeks later, starving and shivering, Julian was digging through a dumpster behind a rundown diner. The back door opened. A man stepped out with a trash bag. It was Thomas. Thomas wasn't wearing a uniform anymore. He looked tired. He saw the dirty, bearded man by the dumpster and squinted. "Mr. Vance?" Thomas asked. Julian wanted to run, but he was too weak. He looked down in shame, waiting for Thomas to yell at him or laugh at him. Instead, Thomas held the door open. "You look hungry," he said gently. "Come inside." Julian couldn't believe it. "Why are you helping me? I fired you. I ruined your life." Thomas smiled sadly. "You were hungry for power then. Now you are just hungry for food. Come inside." Thomas fed Julian a plate of warm meatloaf. As Julian ate like a starving animal, Thomas explained that he worked at the diner now. He also told Julian that his wife had passed away a month ago because they lost their insurance and couldn't afford her treatments. Julian stopped eating. He started to cry. He realized his arrogance had cost a woman her life. He expected Thomas to hate him, but Thomas simply said, "Anger is a heavy stone, Mr. Vance. I chose to put it down." That night, Thomas offered Julian a job washing dishes. It paid minimum wage and offered 1 meal a day. The old Julian would have been insulted. The new Julian tied on the apron and said thank you. For 6 months, the billionaire washed dirty plates. He mopped floors. He took out the trash. He listened to the customers and the other staff. He learned that everyone had a story and a struggle. He learned humility. One day, Julian saw a newspaper on the table. The headline said VanceTech was crashing. Marcus was launching a new software that was full of bugs, and the company was about to go bankrupt. Thousands of people would lose their jobs. Julian knew how to fix it. He had written the original code. "I can save the company," Julian told Thomas. "But I can't get in the building. I look like a homeless man." Thomas went to his locker and pulled out a suit bag. "This was for my wife's funeral," he said. "It is old, but it is clean." Julian put on the suit. Thomas drove him to the corporate tower in his rusty truck. Julian marched into the boardroom just as Marcus was making excuses to the angry shareholders. Security tried to stop him, but the head engineer recognized Julian and let him pass. Julian didn't scream. He didn't brag. He simply walked to the whiteboard and wrote down the solution. He exposed Marcus's theft and showed the engineers how to fix the code in 5 minutes. The board was stunned. Marcus was fired and arrested. Julian was reinstated as CEO immediately. But Julian didn't go back to his penthouse lifestyle. The next day, he walked into the lobby and greeted the new security guards by name. He went to HR and ordered that every single employee, from the janitors to the executives, receive full premium health insurance. Then, he got in his car and drove back to the diner. Thomas was wiping tables. He looked up, surprised to see Julian. "I fixed the company," Julian said, "but I quit my job as a dishwasher." Thomas laughed. "Good. You were overqualified." Julian placed a set of keys on the table. "Thomas, I started a new foundation today in honor of your wife. It is a charity to help families pay for medical bills. I'd put $5 million into it." Thomas stared at him. tears forming in his eyes. I need a director to run it. Julian continued. Someone who knows that people matter more than profits. Will you take the job? Thomas took the job. Years later, Julian Vance was still a billionaire, but he was no longer known for his money. He was known as the man who learned that you can fall from a penthouse to the pavement in seconds. But it takes a good friend to help you climb back up. Thanks for watching.